and welcome. I'm Antonina Antosha and you're watching Head to Head with UATV. More than 57% of residents of temporarily non-controlled territories of Donetsk and Luhansk regions consider themselves Ukrainian citizens. This is stated in the results of quantitative public opinion research conducted in the occupied territories of Donbas in October. To talk more about other important research results, we welcome to our studio today Viktor Andrusiv. He is the Executive Director of the Ukrainian Institute for the Future. Hello and thank you for joining.
Hello.
So 57% of the residents of the temporarily occupied territories consider themselves to be Ukrainian citizens. For me, this was a surprise.
To be Ukrainians.
Right.
Not the passport, not in the issue of the passport, but by the issue of ethnicity. And also they have Ukrainian passport. They say that they have. But if we understand the 100% of the people on their occupied territories, they have Ukrainian passport because we do not cancel their passports.
Right.
For sure they don't use that passport on their territory, but normally they can come to Ukraine and they will have to use Ukrainian passport. So I think it's a normal figure. In
general, how many people did undergo the questioning in the framework of the research?
So we collected 1,600 questionnaires, so we reached, but we have like 2,500 refusals. So it's actually not so much for the sociological research, for the polls. And so we consider this quite objective research.
Okay, I have some of the data here. The report says that 42% of the people living on temporarily occupied territories have never thought about getting a Russian passport. More than 80% of residents of the occupied territories have never thought about leaving these territories, and only 19.2% do have thoughts about leaving the occupied territories, but have not decided where to go. What does it mean where to go? Are we talking about to go to mainland Ukraine or go to Russia? In general, could you dwell on these results?
Well, so you have to understand that people decide where to go not from the position of their patriotic feelings or the treatment of the conflict. Normally they decide if they would leave the territories, they decide on the basis whether they will have some conditions to create the new life, like apartments, job, and so on. So people consider different states. It's not only Ukraine, Russia, they look also for Poland, they look for Belarus, and actually Belarus and has very good support among the local population. And so it means that many people, between those who think of leaving these territories, they also focus on Belarus. So, but the real motivation or the conditions under which they would like to go is actually material side, not the question of the feelings, because we also should understand that we had more than 1,700,000 IDPs who left in 14 and 15, but most of them already have returned to their home, to the homes, and that's also because they did not find here some conditions to continue their life.
Okay, well, clearly people who live on the temporarily occupied territories are under informational pressure.
Yeah, it's for sure, and actually research shows this.
How obvious is that? How obvious was that while conducting the research?
And actually the research is really shows that there is a big correlation between Russian propaganda and what people do really think about the situation. And the research is actually to know what people think independently. Is it a result of the propaganda or in other things? Yeah, for us it's important to know what they really think.
Right.
And research shows that they really are watching a lot of Russian television, and by the frequency and so on. So we see really that people who support joining to the Russia is the biggest amount. It's like 57%. It's more than 55%. But they actually, the same percent is watching the Russian television. But if we will look to Ukrainian, I mean the people who are watching Ukrainian television and who supports Ukraine, this is different figures. And this means that our television is not making propaganda, because people have different position on
right,
our...
we're just describing the truthful situation as it is.
And for sure we cannot compete with the Russian propaganda on the occupied territories. So it means that we also, if we want to communicate with them, we should change the way and the content we do. It's not about the access to Ukrainian television or Ukrainian media, it's about also the content we propose to them. If you know, Ukrainian content is very critical to the power, to the authorities, and so on. And for sure, if they look to this, they're comparing to the Russians, which actually say always that the president is good and the Russia is good and everything will be good. So the final result of this is actually that people support joining to Russia, and we have to know that.
Okay. I have a quote here by Ukraine's defense minister, Andrusiv, and he said, "I don't know the methodology used in the survey, but I can say that the population there, meaning the occupied territories, is under constant informational influence," that what we just talked about. And so we're seeing the effect. For 5 years, the population there has been zombified from the point of view of who is right, who is to blame, whom they should root for, etc. I know for a fact, from my personal experience, that a lot of people who live on the temporarily occupied territories in the east of Ukraine blame previous Ukrainian government for the situation they unfortunately ended up in. Now we have a totally new government, unprecedentedly new government. Do you think that this change in the political elite will have an effect on the situation in Donetsk and Luhansk territories?
Well, figures first. So if we will look also to our polls, they show that people were very disappointed about Zelensky. So because we had some different questions like, did you change your attitude to Zelensky? And 40% said yes. So like they are now more disappointed. So they had bigger expectations to Zelensky after he was elected. But they already now they are disappointed. So for sure we have the new government, new president, but I cannot. It's not depend on them. We should understand that this situation is not like internal problem of Ukraine. So it means that the conflict, the war is bigger than just the Ukrainian government or the president. So they cannot solve this problem by themselves. But in the way, in the steps they are doing on this way, they have to calculate a lot of things. And the first is, what do really people think on that territory? Because if we will go in the way of having elections there, or having some decision on what way they should be a part of Ukraine, so we will get the same results that our polls already have shown.
In your personal opinion, what would be the right thing to do to let those people who are under informational pressure from the Russian propaganda machine will come up with the decision to actually get united with Russia and set them free, let them go? Or should we, let's say, informationally also battle for those layers of the Ukrainian population, because they are still the Ukrainian population, and try to reintegrate them back?
The mission of our state is to protect our citizens. Wherever the situation is, we should all to do to resolve it in the interest of the citizens. And for sure, in Crimea and the occupied areas, they are our citizens, independently what they think or in this concrete situation. So for many years, for a long time, we should continue our politics to bringing them back. But we have to understand, and this is very important, that our polls actually are diagnosis. It's just like we say, look, the situation looks like this. You have to take this into account. But this is not like summary, or so that's it. That's not the end. So it's just the starting point to develop a new politics to these territories. And the first thing, and actually nobody was paying attention to very important figures. more than 60% of people who live there, they don't believe in the future. They don't see future of their republics, or they don't see that they will have something positive in the future. And also more than 80 do not believe in Ukrainian future.
More than 80%?
Yeah, yes,
wow.
They don't believe in Ukrainian future. So this is the field where we should continue to work, because actually when we fight for the consciousness of these people, it's a battle between two models of the future. Will the Russian model or Ukrainian model? And we should spread the models that we have the future, we have the support of the West countries, we have a possibility to travel all around the world, and so on. So our economic will rise. So this is the question, how we communicate, what we communicate. And
right.
the first point is that they don't believe in the future of these republics. So, okay, then we can start to talk with them about this future and their future in Ukraine, how we treat them in Ukraine, what can be the way we rebuild these territories, what can be the help the state gives to the people who suffered from these conditions. This is all talks about the future, and this is a starting point. We get this pulse, we see how the situation looks like. Let's talk with them about the future. And it's not true when we say that, oh, the Russians control the media. No, it's not true. I'm convinced that if the president will make any appeal to them, it will be delivered to all citizens. If Zelensky will say something about them, will address to them, they will, everybody of them will get delivered that message, because they follow, as the people who are in bad conditions, they follow the ways in what their life can change for better. And for them it's very important, because they know all the messages for the last 5 years. And we have also, additionally to this polls, we have focus groups. And normally people say the things like, yes, we would like to back to Ukraine, but they don't need us. They need territories, not us. And for sure, some officials really did say this before. So they are really following what we are saying about them and how we treat them. This is the way we should communicate and use this, but we don't.
Okay, what is the mood of the people living on the temporarily occupied territories when it comes to the disengagement of troops?
For them, and actually for everybody, they don't consider this is not for the first time. It's already like the fifth attempt to do that. And so they have no trust about that this will lead to some peace. And it's very also a big mistake of Ukrainian discourse here, is that we should always say, when we say peace, we should always say what we mean under this word. Do we mean reintegration with autonomy? Do we mean reintegration on the basis like it was before 14? What do we mean under the word peace? Because yes, everybody wants peace, so except of small percent.
No, I agree, but it's unclear. Even to me, it's unclear.
Yeah, it's unclear. And always when you say people want peace, it's always you have to say they want peace, which looks like, in what way? In what kind of peace you propose, or what kind of peace you want to reach?
Right.
Because we can reach some stop of shellings, or we can reach some and create some conditions of moving people, but I'm not sure that we will have a peace if we will decide to reintegrate them on the basis of autonomy. We will get the new conflict inside Ukraine.
That's also possible. Thank you so much for coming here. Thank you so much for the data, for the research, and for your point of view. That was Viktor Andrusiv. He's the Executive Director of the Ukrainian Institute for the Future. Thank you so much for watching Head to Head. Stay tuned with UATV for more.